I'm taking your wedding date. Marcus and I need it more than you and that loser Brandon ever did. My cousin Heather announced at our grandmother's birthday dinner, her manicured nails drumming on the table like a victory march. I set down my champagne glass with deliberate calm and smiled. Perfect timing, actually. I canceled all the vendors last week, so their non-refundable deposits and cancellation fees are all yours. Her wedding planner, who'd been hovering with fabric swatches, went white as a sheet and excused herself to the bathroom, leaving behind the unmistakable scent of a woman who'd just realized she'd been hired to plan a financial disaster. My name is Sienna, and I'm 27 years old. Sitting at that restaurant table, watching my extended family process the bomb I'd just dropped while Heather's smug expression curdled like bad milk, I felt the sweet satisfaction of a trap perfectly sprung. The wedding date she was so eager to steal? It came with a price tag she never bothered to calculate. What do you mean cancellation fees? Heather's voice pitched higher, her practiced confidence cracking. You said the Venus Garden was fully refundable. No, I corrected, buttering a roll with theatrical precision. You assumed it was fully refundable. Just like you assumed Brandon and I broke up. Just like you assumed you could swoop in and claim everything I'd spent 18 months planning. Assumptions seem to be your specialty, Heather. My mother shifted uncomfortably beside me. Sienna, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Why? I asked. Heather made her announcement publicly. Seemed only fair to respond in kind. Besides, everyone here has heard her calling Brandon a loser who couldn't commit for the past month. Might as well clear the air. The truth was simpler and more complicated than any of them knew. Brandon and I hadn't broken up, we'd postponed. His mother's cancer diagnosis had changed everything. We'd quietly decided to push the wedding back a year, maybe 2, until we knew what we were facing. We'd told no one except our parents, asking for privacy while we navigated this difficult time. But Heather, with her uncanny ability to sniff out vulnerability like a shark scenting blood, had interpreted our subdued behavior as relationship trouble. She'd started her campaign immediately. Pointed comments about Brandon's cold feet, suggestions that I was too invested, observations about how some couples just aren't meant to be. The deposits, Heather's mother, my Aunt Patricia, interjected. Surely they can be transferred. Oh, they can, I agreed. For a fee. Venus Garden charges 40% for date transfers. The caterer? 50%. The band I booked. You remember, Heather, the one you said was perfectly adequate for a starter marriage. They charge 75% to transfer contracts. All told, you're looking at about. I pulled out my phone, pretending to calculate what I'd already memorized. $18,000. Just in transfer and cancellation fees. That's before you pay the actual wedding costs. 18,000? Marcus, Heather's fiancé, spoke for the first time, his face draining of color. Just in fees. Well, you could always forfeit the deposits entirely and start fresh, I offered helpfully. That's only about 12,000 lost. Of course, good luck finding equivalent vendors for peak wedding season with just 5 months' notice. Everything decent is already booked. Heather's perfectly contoured face was doing something interesting, cycling between rage, panic, and disbelief. You did this on purpose. You knew I wanted an October wedding. I knew you'd been engaged for 3 years without setting a date, I interrupted. I knew you called my venue trying too hard when I booked it. I knew you mocked my dress choice, my color scheme, my menu selections. What I didn't know was that you'd try to hijack my entire wedding the moment you thought I was vulnerable. Girls, Grandma Eleanor finally spoke, her voice cutting through the tension. This is my birthday dinner. You're right, Grandma, I said, raising my glass. Let's toast to your health. And to family, the ones who support you and the ones who circle like vultures when they think you're weak. Sienna, my mother hissed. What? I'm being honest. Heather's been planning this ambush for weeks. Ask her how she knew the Venus Garden had my date available. Ask her how she contacted my vendors before I'd even officially canceled. Ask her why her wedding planner already had my seating charts. The restaurant had gone quiet around us, other diners pretending not to watch the family drama unfolding. I was trying to help, Heather protested. All that planning going to waste. So you thought you'd recycle my wedding like a hand-me-down prom dress? I laughed. How thoughtful. Tell me, were you planning to use my custom vows too? Or just everything else I spent a year and a half creating? This is ridiculous, Aunt Patricia said. Family helps family. You should be grateful Heather's willing to take over the contracts. Willing. I set down my fork. She announced she was taking my date. Not asking. Not offering. Taking. Like everything else she's ever wanted from me. That's not fair, Heather snapped. I've never. My Sweet 16 theme that you coincidentally chose for your 18th? My prom dress design that you had remade in a better color? My college boyfriend that you tried to steal junior year? My engagement announcement that you overshadowed by announcing your pregnancy the same day, which, by the way, mysteriously ended a week later. Gasps around the table. That last one had been a family secret, or so Heather thought. How dare you? Bring up the fake pregnancy you used to steal my engagement thunder? I pulled out my phone again. Would you like to see the screenshots where you admitted it to your friend Kaylee? She was very chatty after you slept with her boyfriend. Enough! Grandma Eleanor's voice was steel. Both of you. I'm done anyway, I said, standing. Heather, the wedding date is yours. All the vendors have been notified. Venus Garden expects the $18,000 in transfer fees by Monday, or they'll release the date to their waiting list. The florist needs $1,500 by Wednesday. The photographer wants his 70% cancellation fee immediately. That's about $4,000. I pulled a folder from my purse, setting it on the table. Here's all the vendor contracts with the cancellation clauses highlighted. My wedding planner already sent you the final tallies, though I noticed she seems to have disappeared. Can't imagine why. Wait, Marcus said, calculator app open on his phone. This totals almost $30,000. Just to take over contracts. $32,643, I corrected. But who's counting? Oh, right, your joint savings account probably is. You sabotaged us, Heather accused. You knew we couldn't afford. I knew you'd been saving for a wedding for 3 years, I countered. Just like I knew you'd never actually plan one because that would require effort. Much easier to wait for someone else to do the work and then swoop in. Except this time, the someone else knew you were coming. How? She demanded. Your mother called my vendors, I said, looking at Aunt Patricia. 2 weeks ago. Just checking on availability for a family friend. Venus Garden has caller ID, Patricia. They called me immediately. Patricia had the grace to flush. I was trying to help. You were enabling your daughter's pattern of taking shortcuts through other people's lives, I said. But this time, the shortcut comes with a toll booth. We'll sue, Heather threatened. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Good luck with that. I pulled out another paper. This is the email you sent to my maid of honor 3 weeks ago, asking for details about the wedding because you were concerned about Sienna's emotional state. The one where you said, and I quote, if she can't keep a man, maybe someone else should benefit from all that planning. Silence fell like a hammer. Brandon and I aren't broken up, I said quietly. We postponed our wedding because his mother has stage 4 lymphoma. We wanted privacy while we dealt with that. Instead, we got you, circling like a vulture, spreading rumors, trying to steal a wedding you didn't even want until you thought it was available. I didn't know, Heather whispered. Because you didn't ask. You assumed. You schemed. You announced to the family that you were taking my date without even pretending to care why it might be available. I gathered my purse. So congratulations, Heather. You got what you wanted. My wedding date. My vendors. My venue. All yours for the low price of $32,000 plus whatever the actual wedding costs. Sienna, please, Marcus tried. We can't afford. Then you can't afford to steal someone else's work, I said simply. Wedding planning takes time, effort, and money. Heather wanted to skip straight to the finish line. This is what that costs. I turned to my grandmother. I'm sorry your birthday dinner was ruined, Grandma. But maybe this is the wake-up call certain family members needed. Not everything in life is available just because you want it. Where are you going? Mom asked. Home. To my fiancé, who's spending the evening with his sick mother instead of planning a wedding we can't celebrate right now. I looked at Heather one last time. The Venus Garden needs confirmation by Monday. If you default, they'll sue for the full deposit. That's another $12,000 on top of the cancellation fees. Choose wisely. I left them there, Heather staring at the contracts like they might spontaneously combust, Marcus looking sick, Aunt Patricia frantically calling the vanished wedding planner. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Brandon, how did it go? Like we expected, I texted back. She took the bait. Announced it publicly and everything. Think she'll actually go through with it? No idea. Either way, she's learned that my life isn't a discount store for her convenience. You know she'll tell everyone you're a monster. Let her. The vendors all know the truth. They've been incredibly supportive about the postponement. Half of them offered to hold our deposits indefinitely when they heard about your mom. I drove home thinking about the months of planning I'd done. The careful selection of every detail. The negotiations with vendors. The tastings, fittings, meetings. All that work Heather thought she could simply claim because she wanted it. By the time I got home, my phone was exploding with messages from family members. I ignored them all except one from Grandma Eleanor. Well played, dear one. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is exactly what they asked for. Later that night, as Brandon and I sat with his mother watching old movies, she asked about the dinner. Did your cousin take the bait? Hook, line, and sinker, I confirmed. She smiled, wan but genuine. Good. I hate that our situation gave her an opportunity, but I'm glad you were prepared. Me too, Brandon said, squeezing my hand. Though I still think we should have told them the truth sooner. Why? I asked. So Heather could perform sympathy while still trying to steal our vendors? No, this was cleaner. She showed her true colors, and now she gets to live with the consequences. His mother patted my hand. You know, when we do have the wedding, whether it's next year or in 5 years, it's going to be perfect. It will, I agreed. Because it'll be ours. Not something we stole from someone else's pain. My phone lit up with another text. Heather, the venue wants the money by Monday. This isn't fair. I showed it to Brandon and his mother. We all looked at each other, and then, despite everything, or maybe because of it, we laughed. Because fairness, apparently, was only important when Heather wasn't getting what she wanted. But karma? Karma came with a $32,000 price tag and a Monday deadline. And that felt exactly right.